Save $1 on fresh country-style pork ribs, just $3.79 per pound.
Whole red, ripe, seedless watermelons, $12.99 each. Select varieties of Friendly's dessert ice cream cups, only $3.49 for an 8.5-ounce tub. Save $3 on select varieties of Crystal Light drink mix, $5.69 for a 1.4-ounce package. 12-pack refreshing LaCroix sparkling water, only $8.99 for select varieties. Visit our website at www.marketplace.pm for more super specials.
You can count on us.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight. It's Friday, July 19th, 2019. I'm Diane Brewer, and thank you for joining us. Topping our news, investigators are calling for public assistance to help identify those behind a music video that calls for police officers and judges to be murdered. The video in question, which was shared on social media, appears to have been produced by young men who are believed to be linked to gang activity. As Tarai Trott tells us, police have wasted no time in taking action and have already made an arrest.
Me no need Wi-Fi, turn station to a hotspot. One phone call, get the prosecutor and judge shot Rice and kill them all. Babylon soon fall, march on Jericho.
Their lyrics call for deadly violence against police officers and members of the judiciary.
England, get Connell, don't bend, don't.
Some of the scenes were brazenly filmed outside of the Hamilton police station, featuring lyrics that call for violence inside. The video of the unknown artist was shared to social media, and it didn't take long for it to get the attention of the Bermuda Police Service. Police Commissioner Stephen Corbishley today held a news conference to address the content of the video, content it turned out he was already familiar with.
The music video is often termed as what's called drill music, and drill is a slang term for automatic weapons, and it's often associated with gang-related violence, where gangs use the media to call out and diss other gangs, and often it leads to violence. So we take the matter extremely seriously, both in regards to the content of the lyrics, but also perhaps the indication of trying to promote gang violence or violence to any other party.
Police have already identified one person seen in the video who is in police custody answering questions.
And we are seeking advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions as to any charges in relation to offences committed. And we also are obviously seeking out other parties involved, including those that were involved in its production.
Shot, 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 shot.
Mr. Corbishley making it clear that the police service welcomes the concept of music being produced to bring the community together, but he stressed a line is crossed once that music advocates for violence against others.
This type of music is extremely violent. It's not something we tolerate, and of course it advocates the use of violence and other aspects of gang-related criminality.
Questioned further on the video's content, the commissioner said he did not believe the video called for the targeting of any one person in particular.
On first listening, there wasn't anything specific. It was just groups.
Now that police have seen the video, it is a matter of determining if its lyrics breach any laws.
Words in particular context can cross into being criminal behaviour. So actually threatening to kill somebody, threatening to cause harm to somebody, something, as I say, we're speaking with the DPP's office.
As brazen and violent as the video is, police believe it is in isolation and say there is no evidence thus far to suggest a wider trend.
Well, I'm touch wood, okay, very positive. Yeah, we have not seen a homicide this year in Bermuda.
And police are tonight calling for anyone with information regarding the people who appeared in the video or those involved in its production to telephone the CID on 247-1744. Meantime, a government statement has been put out in the name of the National Security Minister, Wayne Keynes, condemning the video's message. In it, Minister Keynes says, quote, "This video is reprehensible and should be denounced by all right-thinking Bermudians." The minister adds that there comes a time in society where we must collectively rise up and show our disdain for such behavior. These young men must not be given safe harbor in our community. Mr. Keynes echoes the police in calling upon anyone who has information to call the police station or the totally anonymous Crime Stoppers hotline at 800-8477. In court news, a man who admitted to manslaughter is jailed for 5 years. 26-year-old Rakeem DeShields was sentenced today in the Supreme Court for causing the death of 30-year-old Dejon Simmons. He died of a head injury sustained during an altercation on Front Street. Jasmine Patterson has the details.
26-year-old Rakeem DeShields was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for causing the death of 30-year-old bartender and father Dejon Simmons. Mr. Simmons was punched by DeShields after a verbal exchange escalated on Front Street around 3 a.m. March 18th last year. The fall led to Mr. Simmons striking his head on the pavement, fracturing his skull and causing brain damage. The Crown argued for the court to impose a prison term of 6 years. They said DeShields was unable to control his anger by lashing out. The prosecutor says patrons were leaving various bars on Front Street, and CCTV footage showed the defendant move towards the victim in an aggressive manner. The two squared off, and then DeShields began to throw punches. Prosecutor Loxley Ricketts said Mr. Simmons remained motionless on the ground and never regained consciousness. The mother of his child said her world crumbled upon hearing the news of Dejon's death. Dejon was a loving and devoted father and talented artist. Defense lawyer Charles Richardson told the judge he could attest to the deceased and client's good character. He suggested the incident was a borderline accident, and the court must take into account what actually caused the injury, which was not the force of the punch itself. He explained Simmons said offensive things and it escalated. He suggested a period of 2 to 3 years imprisonment. DeShields apologized to the family of the victim today, telling them, quote, "I know words don't suffice, but I'm truly sorry." Justice Carlo Graves said factors in this case indicate medium culpability. He stated he could not have intended to have caused the death of the deceased, but recognized DeShields as the aggressor. Justice Graves concluded he intended, I think, to put a beating on him, and that beating may have caused him some harm, but no real obvious harm. He could not have intended to cause the death of the deceased. DeShields will serve 5 years imprisonment with time in custody taken into consideration. Jasmine Patterson reporting for Bermuda Broadcasting News.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, coming up one step closer to an increase in the retirement age, a national address from the Premier 2 years after the PLP regaining power, the latest weather news, and much more. Stay with us.
The name Woolman is synonymous with excellence in Bermuda's sailing fraternity. Michael Woolman shares the spotlight as the younger brother of Cece Woolman. At the age of 5, he was introduced to sailing at the Royal Hamilton Amateur Dinghy Club. 3 years later, he competed in his first international regatta. Success was inevitable, and Michael won the Canadian National Championship at the age of 12. In addition, Michael has competed in 2 World Sailing Youth Championships in Malaysia and New Zealand, and also finished a career best 23rd and 4th in the under-23s at the NACRA 17 World Championships in 2017. Michael will be looking to excel at the Pan Am Games, his first multi-sport event.
Welcome back. Well, the proposed increase in the retirement age for public servants is one step closer to becoming reality as MPs today passed the Public Service Superannuation Amendment Act 2019. The bill was tabled by Curtis Dickinson, the Minister of Finance. He spoke with Gary Moreno about thinking behind the amendment.
We're intending on raising, as we promised in the 2018 speech from the throne, to raise the retirement age. We're taking it from 65 to 68, and it's on a voluntary basis. Folks who choose to retire at 65 still can, and those who want to work a bit longer are now, through law, allowed to work a little bit longer.
Now, this doesn't apply across the board. There are some restrictions, if I'm not mistaken.
This is only for public service employees or government employees, and it doesn't include police officers, prison officers, fire officers, or teachers.
Now, it's believed that this is going to help, as it suggested, in terms of the superannuation fund, that people are going to be paying into the fund longer and thereby perhaps helping to ensure the continued existence of the fund?
That's correct. I mean, we have a number of measures that we're contemplating in terms of ensuring the longevity of the fund, including extending the years of amount of time people actually work. We're looking at some other things around benefits, and we're looking at things around kind of the investment performance. That's a body of work that my team is actually starting to work on the other aspects of it, and we expect to be able to kind of table something or introduce something to the public in the next couple of months.
Why were there restrictions in terms of public servants, like you mentioned, the police and so on?
They would come under a separate agreement, separate legislation, so we have to work with their unions on potentially expanding retirement ages for those services. And this practical matter as well, Gary, in as much as certain jobs may require a certain amount of physical activity, we have to kind of be really careful that we're not asking seniors to do those kinds of jobs if they are not capable of doing them.
Teachers restricted as well?
I think we just need to look at kind of how the teaching service actually will be affected by extending the retirement age. I think, generally speaking, I made it mention this morning in my statement that our population is aging, the birth rate is down, and so we need to figure out how we get people working longer. And we need to take a closer look at teachers. They have been specifically carved out of the legislation along with the other uniformed services.
How long before we can expect that this is going to be enacted?
I think the earliest, so is another procedural aspect to today's proceedings in the House of Assembly. It will move to the Senate. Hopefully they'll be able to take it up next week, but we are kind of rising for the summer recess next week. So potentially next week, and if not next week, then probably beginning of the next session, if not before.
And that was Gary Morena reporting. In other news, the Premier David Burt has promised that his government will move Bermudians from what he describes as an era of exclusion to one filled with equal opportunity for success. His words are contained in a national television address published today on social media to mark the 2 years since his Progressive Labour Party government regained power in the 2017 election. Mr. Burt recalls a time under the former OBA government where he said austerity was imposed on Bermudians, and he notes there has already been change for Bermudians from that time.
We have made progress in delivering on our promises. After a period where austerity was imposed on every aspect of public services, Bermudians have seen a change in how government can and should support its people. Through our College Promise initiative, more and more Bermudians are able to attend the Bermuda College, starting their next level of education, and in many cases, learning new skills in a changing economy. We believe in investing in our people, and we are beginning to see results. Increasing the amounts available for scholarships, reducing payroll taxes for workers making less than $96,000 per year, changing the law to allow the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation to provide direct loans to startup businesses, increasing seniors' pensions every year, and expanding internships opportunities locally and abroad, while developing a thriving fintech education program. These are just some of the ways that we are laying the foundation for the change we were elected to bring to Bermuda.
And turning to weather news now, a beautiful, sunny but very warm weekend ahead. Let's go to AccuWeather headquarters for the details.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
The BF&M Insurance Group is pleased to bring you tonight's AccuWeather forecast. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brittany Boyer, and we have a great weekend on our hands here. Quiet conditions with high pressure keeping things nice and dry. And it's going to be a little bit humid, but you know what? You can get outside, soak up the sunshine, and have a great time. As we look at what's going on the radar right now, you can see that we do have some energy just to our south and also to our north as well. Within the vicinity, there are a couple of pop-up showers, but if we see anything tonight, it's going to be a very stray shower. Besides that, we expect conditions to really clear out here as high pressure is in control of our weather. Winds right now, you can see coming in out of the west-southwest, and that is pumping into pumping in more of that humidity that we've been seeing over the last couple of days. I mean, look at the temperatures right now. We are in the mid-80s with humidity between 70 and 75%. Winds are coming in out of the west 5 to 10 knots, and the water temperature actually bumped up a degree. Got this from the Bermuda Weather Service website. It's actually 85.3 degrees. So I've been calling it bathwater all week. That's why the water continues to warm up, and conditions out on the water are great. We'll give it a thumbs up. Waves inside the reef around 1 foot and outside of the reef between 2 and 4 feet. So we don't have any small craft warnings to fill you in on for tonight. As we look at some of your tidal times here, we have our high tide coming in just before midnight tonight, and then we have our low tide tomorrow morning coming in before 6 a.m. Overnight tonight, you can see it's going to be another muggy one for you. Humid, 78 degrees under mainly clear skies, and tomorrow it's another warm day, a slight breeze which will hopefully help keep you cool and refreshed with highs in the mid to upper 80s. Low temperature tomorrow night, just like the last couple of nights, sitting around 80 or upper 70s. So the warm and humid flow really continues here, not just tonight but also as we head through your weekend here. High pressure keeps things nice and tranquil. Looks like we'll have our next disturbance coming off the east coast by the time we get into the middle of next week. Looking at the Caribbean outlook here, you can see Jamaica and also Trinidad, a couple of showers and thunderstorms. We don't have any tropical development. There are a couple of tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa. You saw one just off the coast there. And then we also have a little bit of energy here as you get around, say, Hispaniola. But none of these tropical waves are really doing a whole lot right now. And that's good news, because the quieter the Atlantic hurricane season, the better. At least that's what I think. We like to see things staying nice and quiet for us here in Bermuda. Your gateway forecast heading into tomorrow. Look at some of these temperatures. New York City in the 90s, 98 degrees into Boston, Massachusetts. It's going to be a scorcher out toward the East Coast. And we've got some heat on our hands as well. Upper 80s over the next several days. And then the middle of next week, that disturbance comes in with some rain possible.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
My name is Kevin Roberts. I'm a taxi driver / ambassador. My father's with BF&M, so am I. Half of my family always been seemed to be with Bermuda Fine Marine. I tried a different provider at one time, but I wasn't too happy with the competition, because back then it took too long to settle claims. They questioned every claim, and I never really had that problem with BF&M. I'm quite happy with it.
And you were watching the Friday edition of Bermuda Tonight. Well, members of the lower house this morning provided insight on Bermuda's newest hotel development at the Grand Atlantic site. Tourism Minister Zane De Silva highlighted some of the details of the new mid-market boutique hotel to be renamed the Bermudiana Beach Resort Tapestry Collection by Hilton.
Mr. Speaker, 71 of the condominiums are being refurbished with new kitchens and bathrooms, additional windows, and new floor coverings. The remaining 7 condominiums are being converted into a reception area, bar and restaurant, meeting room, commercial kitchen, spa, and operations support areas. Elevators are to be installed in 8 of the 9 condominium blocks, with the construction of 2 swimming pools and the installation of 2 trams to provide access to the beach below and add stability to the cliff face. The condominiums available to both local and international purchasers, Mr. Speaker, will be marketed as deeded vacation homes on an outright sale basis. They will, however, be restricted to a maximum 90 nights per year occupancy, with the balance of the nights available for use as hotel inventory under a mandatory rental program contract which shares income between individual owners and the resort operating company. Almost 50% of the condominiums will be modified to include lock-off ensuite bedrooms and thus increase the number of suites and rooms available for the hotel accommodations to 111. Mr. Speaker, Phase 1, comprising 70 of the 111 keys, will come online in July next year, with the remaining 41 units in 2021. The agreement with Hilton Franchise will provide access to the worldwide marketing and reservation systems. Mr. Speaker, we are confident that the development of this exciting new tourism property in partnership with Hilton Hotels International will greatly enhance our tourism offerings.
However, opposition MP Michael Dunkley has concerns after the new hotel development was announced. He maintains there are still too many unknowns about the project.
It was interesting that they had a ribbon cutting ceremony, but there's still a lot of work to be done. You can't call up Hilton and get a room up there. We probably won't be able to do that probably until a year's time. There's still a lot of work to be done to the property. And I asked the Honorable Minister how much money the government, through the Bermuda Housing Corporation, I assume, will have to put into this project, what the relationship is with McClellan Associates, and how much money they're going to put into the project. Again, the minister said he'll have to get back to me. Those are answers you should already know. If you're making a statement in the House of Assembly, those are answers you should already know. And then I asked the Honorable Minister how much money is going to be put into work to amenities there. He mentioned in his statement about restaurant, bar, pool, spa, beach access. Again, didn't know. I asked the minister when they were put up for sale. The minister did say that they would be put up to international people or locals, what the price tag would be. He was unsure, said he would get back to me, said they'd be about $400,000. And so it appears that the announcement yesterday, I believe it was just a way for the PLP to try to talk about good news. There's so much more that has to be done to make before that get open. The minister was even unsure of a budget. Until you have a budget, until you have dedicated money, not much is going to happen up there.
Earl Basin will have all the latest sports news after the break. Stay with us.
You can count on us.
Save $2 on tree-ripe juicy peaches and nectarines, $2.99 per pound. Family pack fresh ground hamburger, only $2.99 per pound. Save $1.10 on ShopRite Sharp shredded cheese, $2.99 for an 8-ounce package. Package of 4s, double rolls, Charmin Ultra Soft or strong toilet tissue, $4.99. Matchlight charcoal briquettes, $8.99 for a 3.1 pound bag.
All stores open Monday through Saturday until 10 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for your shopping convenience.
I'm in a bad mind, wanna run things every time. I gonna flex, no girl vex. But anyway, follow about your hands again. Now me no stop love how the girl them flex. The hand close and make a next girl flex. Me no stop love how the woman them a flex. No stop live big and make a next girl. Me all a walk like a champion, talk like a champion. What a piece of money, girl, tell me where you get it from. Knock on your entrance, ram papa ram pam, sing along. I would like to be the only in your life. I want to be the only man, real one if I gonna make sure.
You may not be a movie star.
When we say, oh God bless, on the nose.
Yeah, we not have fun. Louis V don't no fat farm. With smarty that did that line.
Oh, you're getting paid, not playing. Pushing Escalade and rocking Prada. No more drama with your day. Yeah, but you're getting paid, not played.
And turning to sports now, the teams for the Eastern County Cricket Association's 2019 first round match have been selected. Former professional basketball player Sullivan Phillips held a book signing session, and Bermuda junior men's national basketball team began competing in the Cayman Sports Festival, losing to the host Cayman Islands 85-49. Earl Basin has the details and so much more in tonight's sports report.
The Eastern County Cricket Association's 2019 first-round match featuring cup holders St. David's Cricket Club and Bailey's Bay will be held tomorrow at Lord's in St. David's. Both teams have named their squads that will take to the field, with two first-time captains in Justin Pitcher from St. David's and Terran Frey from Bailey's Bay set to take the toss. St. David's have selected two coats in Ian Smith and Brian Hall, while Bailey's Bay have selected one coat in Jermaine Usher. The cup holders St. David's Cricket Club team is as follows: Justin Pitcher captain, Lionel Can vice captain, OJ Pitcher, Dalwan Borden, Mackay Simmons, Shannon Rayner, Ian Smith coat, Arunde Bascom, Brian Hall coat, Rudal Pitcher, and CJ Otterbridge. Challengers Bailey's Bay's team is as follows: Terran Frey as captain, Sinclair Smith vice captain, Rodney Trott, Stephen Otterbridge, Kyle Hutzel, Derek Brangman, Zico Burgess, Malachi Jones, Cooley Durham, Jermaine Usher, coat, and Pierre Smith. We can confirm that Nicole Mitchell has been a late addition to the Bermuda Pan American Games team, where she will join Caitlin Conyers in the women's cycling road race events. Former professional basketball player Sullivan Phillips held a book signing session for his newly released book titled Balling Out of Control. Phillips offers his insight into the book.
Just basically talking about if you make mistakes and you don't repair them or fix them, you'll constantly make them over and over again. And it's just some lessons that are in there that basically say, hey, these are pit stops I did, you might not want to go that way. That's pretty much it.
And you use the sport of basketball as a life tool to actually help gravitate away from a lot of the things that were going on in your life at the time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Basketball was a great shelter. It was a 2-hour shelter. That's what I called it, you know, from all your drama, all your problems. But at some point in time, you got to figure out, well, how do I make this my life where I don't have these problems, you know?
Going over in Europe, obviously different languages, different challenges, different way of life. How does that mold you to the person you are today?
Makes you appreciate different people, different cultures. Respect the fact that money is one thing to some people, but to others it's life. So it makes you appreciate this good, the bad, and everything about life, as opposed to being, you know, closed-minded and selfish.
Meanwhile, the Bermuda Junior National Men's Basketball team began competing in the Cayman Sports Festival, taking on the host Cayman Islands. Bermuda would fall 85-49. Jarrell Smith led the Bermuda team, scoring 24 points. He grabbed 6 rebounds. He had 1 assist and 2 block shots. The Rugby Americas North Under-19 tournament got underway in Barbados. Bermuda would open up against USA Rugby South. Bermuda would go down in their opening match against USA Rugby South 16-5. Bermuda went into their second game with renewed focus, knowing that to make the semifinal they would have to defeat Jamaica, and they did just that, 21-7. The Hampel Youth Sailing World Championships continued in Poland, with Campbell Patton taking to the water yet again. Patton was competing in the boys' laser radial fleet that has now sailed a total of 8 races. Patton ended the day in 21st place with 142 points. Patton finished the first race of the day in 37th, and he would close out with his best finish thus far in 5th place in the second race of the day. The 2019 Junior Caribbean Area Squash Association's individual squash tournament continued in Trinidad, with Bermuda players yet again taking to the courts. During the girls' singles under-17 division, Abigail Brewer went down to her opponent from Guyana 12-10, 11-7, 11-6. Ariana Lothar defeated her opponent from Barbados 11-3, 11-6, 11-6. Lothar in her next match went down to her opponent from Jamaica 12-10, 11-8, 11-8. In boys singles under-17 division action, Charlie Riker defeated his opponent from Guyana 11-4, 11-5, 11-1. Matthew Elliott went down to his opponent from Guyana 11-4, 11-2, 11-1. Taylor Carrick won his boys singles under-19 match against his opponent from Cayman Islands 11-4, 11-4, 11-7. And Anaya Smith went down 11-3, 11-5, 11-8 to his opponent from Barbados. I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
Price Rate is your one-stop shop with something for everyone. Household goods for kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Aisles of bulk groceries at value prices. A complete selection of fresh meat and produce. And an extensive range of frozen items to cover every meal. Wines from around the world and beer and liquor at discount prices. Visit Price Right at our 2 locations in Pembroke and Warren. There's always something new and always something for everyone.
David Maycock is no stranger to international competition or to winning medals. He has bowled across the world from Dubai to Malaysia, Costa Rica to Hong Kong, and flown that Bermuda flag with distinction. He placed 4th in the 2016 Commonwealth Games, missing a medal by just 1 pin. At the World Cup a year earlier, he placed an impressive 14th out of 86 participants in Las Vegas. On local soil, David has won the Bermuda Open, the Bermuda Rendezvous, and American Airlines tournaments. And he manages to retain as much enthusiasm for the sport today as when he first picked up a bowling ball at the age of 5. Next stop, Peru and the Pan Am Games.
I have 5 lollipops and my friend wants one. Go find it.
Two plus one.
0 times 2. 3 times 2.
We're having so much fun.
And maybe another number.
How many 25-cent coins make up $1?
That's our newscast. I'm Diane Brewer. Thank you for sharing part of your Friday evening with us. Everyone, we appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening and weekend. Good night.
Tonight, the heat wave turns deadly. Warnings of dangerous weather in the hour.
This is the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell.
And good evening.